Put your children to bed.
Kids don't need to hear what's about to happen.
Hot crack has returned.
HBK, the lady lover, the king of pleasure.
It's the most hated ock, baby.
Oh, please say the baby.
You tuned in to Pie Crack. 8-Bit Paul, a.k.a. Five the Fresh.
Pie cracking this bitch.
Yo, it's your boy Matt, the Mad Titan. We the Bloods with attitude, and this is the party dude.
Barely.
Anybody else I talk to about this shit, they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And that's why pie crack must exist.
Pod crack. Real raw and unmotherfucking cut.
And once again, it's song for the 2024. Welcome back. It is Pie Crack. It's your boy Heartbreak. One time for the one time. You know what I'm saying? And as I look around the room, you know what I mean? I see some of the latest and greatest. Some people that I know very well. You would like them. You know what I mean? I see none other than my brother, Ak Baby. Ak Baby, please say, now that Mickey Mouse is public domain, where's the first place we're going to see him pop up? Huh?
You get all the porn sites, my nigga. You know what I mean? You thought Mickey's first cartoon was about him on a train, my nigga. Now you will really see.
Whole different type, huh? Whole different thing. Updated for
right.
the update. You know what I mean?
You thought he was whistling before, nigga.
Wow.
Andy Griffith's theme song. You know what I'm trying to say?
Woo. Oh my goodness, man! Say it ain't so, my brother.
That's what I mean. That's what people been waiting on. That's what the people want.
That's what the people been waiting on, huh?
That's what they've been wanting.
That's what people been waiting on.
All the people in Japan, nigga.
I think they already got that. I think they got that.
They already got that shit.
One. Yeah. They just catching up over here. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Oh man, that's terrible, man. That's horrendous, and I'm here for it. All right. You know what I mean?
If niggas was real, Warner Brothers would come out with a Mickey and Bugs cartoon. They try to get, you know what I mean?
Ooh.
Try to get Bugs back in the limelight because they been
Does this Bugs go over though? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, he goes over like Godzilla versus King Kong. Right?
So you book Bugs real strong against Mickey.
Yeah, you have him blowing Mickey up and all types of shit.
You job him out. You know what I'm saying?
You listen, it's 2024. You have Bugs dress up as a girl and kiss Mickey on the lips, nigga. That'll show him. That'll show him who's boss, nigga.
That's the only way. That's the only way you can efficiently, you know what I'm saying? Hey man, it makes all the sense of the world to me, man. Hollywood, do you want $1 billion?
Would you like $1 billion? Nigga?
Like $1 billion?
Obviously not, because you keep making these trash ass superhero movies that flop every other day. So we're trying to give you something surefire, baby.
I'm just saying, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't. You know what I'm saying? Don't break a tried and true process. That's all we telling you, Warner Brothers. But remember where you heard it from. All right, your old pals here at Pod Crack. But as I continue to look around the room, I see a familiar face. She ain't been on the pod in a little while. You know what I'm saying? Last time she was on the pod did numbers. You know what I mean? You know.
That's what I'm here for. Okay. It's the ratings. All right.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? You know, she was here for The Harder They Fall, the James Samuels original film, unoriginal film. She said she won't be returning for his return to cinema, The Book of Clarence. She says
I won't. It's blasphemy. Okay, it's blasphemy.
Tad blasphemous for
a watch it.
You know what I mean? She said, you know, there's no way that the black man is God. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, Hot take.
I won't have it. I won't stand it.
Hot take. Hot take. You know what I'm saying?
Blonde haired, blue eyed. I don't know.
Yeah. She said she like her savior a little lighter. You know what I'm saying? A little lighter on the
light
subject.
skin. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, a little lighter on the subject. All
Not-
right,
not
man. Listen,
Sleeps.
Not that.
we don't point no fingers. We don't pass no judgment here, Pike. Correct? You know what I'm saying? It is the one and only, the illustrious actress, playwright. The list goes on and on. The accolades go on and on. You know what I'm saying? It's Marita. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh well, I can't complain. Well, I
You
could. I
know,
saw it, but that's a whole nother discussion. We get into it in a minute. Yeah. So, lady and gentlemen, um, it's not often that wrestling crosses over into the mainstream of things.
Not often at all.
Not often at all. It is in today's day and age, it is a niche product. But the movie, The Iron Claw, which allegedly follows the Von Erich family, one of wrestling's most famous or infamous wrestling families, that tells their story allegedly. So, without further ado, supposedly, purportedly, let's dig into it. Let's dig into it. We all saw this movie.
mhm.
What did we feel about it? What do we feel about? Well, let me ask you first, Marita. I already know this is brand new to you. Ak, what was your familiarity with the story of the Von Erichs going into this?
I had a. I wasn't very familiar with all the story beats. Of course, I knew that there was tragedy afoot. No pun intended.
Yo, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. You caught me off guard. You caught me off guard. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't mean any puns, so you're the one going to hell, right? I didn't intend any pun, and God Almighty know my heart. Listen. So, yeah, I knew there was tragedy, and I was familiar with the ones I was familiar with, but I couldn't name all the Von Erichs. You know what I'm saying? I only could name the ones that I saw. So growing up, the Von Erichs was a little before my time. You know what I mean? I was born in 1987. I believe the last one was on TV around 92. And that's the one that I knew by the name of the Texas Tornado. Didn't know his real name was Kerry Von Erich. So I had always heard rumors and innuendo, to borrow a phrase, about the family, but I never really knew what happened. In fact, I took the movie at face value at first, but then there was just a few things I was like, this doesn't add up. Something ain't right here. And then lo and behold, there was a lot of poetic freedom,
Yes.
artistic freedom taken, artistic liberty, if you will. But yeah, but I would say on the familiarity scale, I was probably about a 5 or a 6. Enough to whisper to the young lady next to me, who you may hear in the background, to say, I know it's about to happen. It's going to be fucked up. Had to prepare because there's so much fucked up shit going on. I had to make sure she knew. You know what I mean? Prepare yourself. Because they're going to hit rock bottom and then the bottom will fall out, my nigga.
They're going to hit every rock on the way down. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, for me, there was I know WWE produced a documentary on World Class Championship Wrestling, which was the promotion led by the patriarch of the family, Fritz Von Erich. And so you can't really, although that was a bustling promotion at one point in time, you can't tell the story of the wrestling without telling the story of the tragedy. So I probably was about 14 when I heard the story. And yeah, it was fucked up. You know what I mean? So it was something I was familiar with, and then I know Vice did a Dark Side of the Ring, which added even more.
Did you watch that one?
I did. They put even more stank on it. You know what I'm saying? So
I would say the main differences between all of these, and this goes to show you wrestling in general. Fact, how do you establish fact from fiction? What is a shoot? What is a shoot? What is a work? Because wrestlers kind of speak in this line in between the shoot and the work a lot of times.
They do.
So the main ingredient you get from this movie that you probably didn't get from the others is how fucked up of a father Fritz von Erich is.
Yes.
This is the first time I've ever heard about how fucked up he is. I never heard this before.
Because all the wrestlers speak of him with reverence. You know what I mean? Especially the ones that had direct dealings with him or grew up watching World Class. You know what I mean? Not a harsh word against him.
It's crazy because it's like you wonder, like, oh, okay, they're just separating the man from the art. They appreciated the art, but in this case, he started out playing a Nazi. So, I mean, when you speak glowingly of him, he's like, yeah, fuck you, the fucking realism. The nigga used to see how so motherfucking real it was. You believed him.
The way he goose-stepped across the ring, you knew it was real.
Every step was in line with the Third Reich. It was fucking crazy.
So knowing what you know about the story prior to this, knowing what I know about the story prior to this, Marita, you coming in as this is relatively just a brand new story to you. Matter of fact, let me ask you. So what did you, I guess, were you able to follow along or what did the story feel like to you?
Yeah, so if I'm honest, when I came into the story, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a father who's in wrestling. He loves his family, and we're just going to see, I guess, their legacy or how it played out. And then it turned into trauma porn. And I was like, I'm not prepared for this. Unlike
Not trauma porn.
yes. Unlike you, Akir, Sean did not prepare me at all. He didn't give me no hints, no clues. The story was the issue. Like,
very simplistic story. Like it was told very like the bare minimum was told. They didn't even go deep.
The bare necessities.
Let me go ahead. I'm gonna step out on the ledge. I'm gonna step out here by myself, man. I hated this movie. I did.
Damn.
Hot take.
But it's not really surprising. You're the same nigga that hated life. Not your life. I mean, it's not that kind of podcast. Yeah, he hates the movie.
I did hate life.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, I do hate life. Yeah, okay.
Sean doesn't like sad movies. That's just
no. Wait.
Which I'm surprised he even opted to go see this movie because he hates.
Right. So what? I'm trying to make a correlation.
I feel attacked now. You know what I'm saying? I feel attacked. All right. So anywho, no. My hate for life, the Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence film, comes from my hatred for movies and television that take place in prison. Because I have a strong feeling that no matter what success that they have overall, it pales in comparison to the fact that they are still in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say, oh, we got over on the prison guard today, but he gets the last laugh because you're still in jail. So you really didn't accomplish anything. Like, they got out at the end, but they were 98 years old. Like, my nigga, they got the time out of you, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? You served. What's up?
Did you like the Green Mile? I mean, the Longest Yard?
No, my nigga.
Marita, he doesn't.
Or do you think this is equal opportunity, my nigga?
He doesn't like anything with even a sad tinge of it. of it being sad. But listen,
Prison. There's a place called heaven and a place called hell. There's a place called prison.
sir,
And a
easy
place
credit
called hell.
layoffs, easy credit ripoff. My nigga.
I hate
Temporary
good
layoffs.
times too. Huh? What you know about it?
I hate black pepper.
Whoopi Goldberg neck, nigga. So anyways, no, what I'm saying is, yes, I did, because, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I didn't like this movie in particular. Because this did not feel like a movie about the Von Erichs as much as it felt like, hey, I'm Keith Von Erich, and I'm the last one living, and I am a good person. Whatever you feel about the rest of my family, I'm a good person. I picked my kids up from the bus stop. I changed my son's last name from Von Erich. See, I'm gonna get a ranch where my whole family can live one day. With that, and that'll be the last scene of the movie. That's gonna be the thing you remember. No, nigga, we gonna remember the murders and the suicides and the everything, the death. That's what we're gonna remember. And it felt just like so I was often in biopics, right? You'll see the one person who directly had something to do with it, and you'll get that feeling from it. Like in The Temptations, it was Otis, right? Like there's no reason anybody should be mentioning Otis other than the fact that he's the person who the story is the original story of this movie is based on, right? In what you call it? In Straight Outta Compton, Dr. Dre was a superhero, right? He was punching bloods in the face and shit. Why? Because this story was directly written and from Dr. Dre's perspective. He was a superhero in that movie. And in this movie, it was like, yeah, is it Kevin Von Zac Efron's character?
Kevin Von Erich.
Kevin Von Erich. And it was just like, my nigga, you are the least interesting Von Erich. No offense. My nigga, I don't want to know about you. Like, I want to know about these other niggas.
I'm gonna have to stop
and they
you
were
there.
Footnotes in his story. Go ahead, sir. Please. Take it
Stop.
away.
He was not the least interesting Von Erich. He just was he was deemed by the wrestling world as not the anointed one. He couldn't talk. At that time, you had to be able to talk people in the building.
My nigga, couldn't neither one of them talk.
No. But listen, David Von Erich could
charismatic, yes.
He could get a point across.
Yes.
Kevin Von,
Right.
that's the reason why I don't compare him to Dr. Dre in this particular sequel. First of all, it wasn't his choice to make the story about him, my nigga. Like, the director did that. He didn't make all the choices. He didn't tell them what to do and what not to do. They chose to do that shit. So what I'm trying to say to you is the director decided that was the best way to tell the trauma. Because if you followed Kerry Von Erich, or wanted with even lesser extent David Von Erich, the story would have ended. Kerry Von Erich, the story would have ended. All these niggas died. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't even follow the father. You only would have made it to 2009. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you have to follow the survivor, nigga. Like, you acting like the fucking if you watching Jason, right? You can't follow the nigga who's gonna die in the first 3 scenes. You know what I'm saying? You gotta follow the one who survives. That's the nigga who lives.
But I would have rather that they gave a little bit more time to Kerry Von Erich. I would have rather that they gave a little bit more. Like, they were hitting story beats.
Because you know. That's only because you know. You see what I'm saying? You know the other stuff they did. And that's what I'm trying to present to you, sir. This movie wasn't a wrestling movie. It was a movie about this family who happened to be wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the layman that we brought along with us, no offense.
Mm-hmm.
The layman we brought with us.
I am what I am.
Yeah. Y'all, that's why y'all could get into it. Because if they were in there, motherfucker, this is how you put on a hammerlock, nigga. If they spent the whole time doing that, they would have been bored. You know what I mean? So that's why and I will say to you, when I got up out the movie theater, I thought long and hard if I liked this movie or not. Because from a movie standpoint, it was very linear. It was very cut and dry. It was one scene led to the next scene, led to the next. Like it wasn't really. It didn't move me as from a cinematography standpoint. It didn't move me from I don't know, like a work of art standpoint. What moved me, I believe, was the story. Even though I kind of knew the story beats, to see these people just die death after death after death, I was like, God damn, it's a little powerful. And then when he sat there and it crescendoed, he choked his father, which I'm not sure really happened. But when he choked his father out and all that shit, you felt a tiny, tiny bit of catharsis. And then when he sat there and cried, and said his line about I used to be a brother, I'm not a brother no more. It was, she made the lip, she made the puffy lip, the pouty lip just now, because it was sad. You felt it. And that's why I said the movie was successful, because it led me all up to that moment. And at first I was like, damn, that nigga died too, damn. That nigga lost his foot, damn. That's all I was doing, like, shit, god damn. And then when it got to the end and it crescendoed and it hit that point, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cry in front of you, but I know men ain't supposed to cry. But I used to be a brother. Now I ain't no brother no more. And then he said, Daddy, I'll be your brother. And then the mother came over and said, shut your dumb ass up. You can't be a brother. I might have added that shit in myself. I felt something. I was moved, Sean.
Okay. Well, okay.
Right?
And yes. And,
coming, you were only child. You might not never know nothing about that, nigga. You might not never know what it's like to have a brother, nigga. Huh? Yeah. You played with the toys when you wanted to, nigga. Huh? The channel was on whatever station you desired, nigga. I had to fight for that, nigga. Right?
So you knew what it was.
This ain't about
it. Was. Hey, but this is what I'll say, man. So what okay, all right. So obviously, from the audible church black lady groans and moans that Marita was letting off throughout each death. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Oh goodness. You know what I'm saying? I knew that the deaths was landed, right?
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to ask you, though, right? As a person that knew the story, I just felt like the pacing of them, like they was just boom, 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 boom. They was hitting them too. They wasn't letting them breathe, man. That's what I felt like.
And that's what I was feeling at first. I'm not gonna lie, that's what I'm feeling at first. But like I said, when it crescendoed and I felt his pain, I was like, this isn't a movie about like this family. It's about this movie about like what the loss feels like. And this is probably what it felt like for Kevin Von Erich at the time. Like, even though it was years apart, to him, it probably felt, if you lose all your people within a 10-year period, nigga, you were going to feel like that shit happened back to back. Like, they were dropping like flies. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to really feel the time because you don't even really get to heal. Like, it takes years to heal from some shit like that. And a year or two later, another nigga dropping. You know what I'm saying?
And see, but this is where I took umbrage, right?
The only person know what he feel like is rappers from Chicago, nigga.
What?
You know what I'm saying?
Chief Keef?
All they niggas died. Like, damn.
That is why.
Dirkio, NBA Youngboy, they the only ones that know.
The only ones that know, nigga. And the ones you ain't heard of, that just angel wings in somebody's Instagram profile. You ever pull up a profile and 120 angel wings in that shit, nigga? That's how RP little JoJo. That's how that nigga Kevin felt. Like fly, like he went to war with a platoon, nigga, and he the only one that came home. That's how he felt.
Came back. Oh shit. He was
the fucking subtlety, my nigga, of him just saying, listen, I'm cursed, my nigga, I ain't coming home. And his mother's like, what? Come bring your ass. He's like, nah, nigga. Clearly I'm cursed. Like, this is just logical. I'm not even mad right now. I'm going to go to a hotel, my nigga, because clearly if I get
That
any
nigga
of
stand
this
at the
Von Erich juice
sportatorium,
when
man.
he hit me,
Once they get the shit on them, man. That's
yeah,
what you said.
that's all I'm saying.
Oh man, once they get the sheening on them, man, it's over for them. All right, I'm gonna keep it at the sportatorium, man. I'm gonna go sleep on the floor at the gym.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at it. When you put it like that, I ain't mad at it. But so
And
for me,
he wasn't Dr. Dre. My bad. One last thing. He wasn't Dr.
yeah,
Dre because he showed that he wasn't the one. In the movie, you could see that he wasn't the one. But also, I will say this: there was the subtext that if they would have made him the one, then maybe all the niggas would have died.
yes,
That was a little bit of the subtext. But that might be how he feels.
that might be how he feels. That might be how he feels. I mean, I saw the man 2 weeks ago. He still can't cut a promo. All right, the fucking realism. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? But so for me, I don't know. It felt out of place when I was in the movie looking at it. Because of course David was the first one to die. You know what I'm saying? He had to. In my mind, I thought he made it back from Japan, but and then passed away, but he didn't. But I didn't realize what didn't sit well with me until I had a chance to get out of the movie and then like let it decompress, because you have Kerry Von Erich's passing, and then they had Mike Von Erich, who did exist, but they kind of rolled his story, Mike Von Erich and Chris Von Erich, into one, because there was another Von Erich son that committed suicide also. So I was oh shit, okay. And yeah, they kind of, I guess that they didn't have enough time for that. You know what I mean? They had to bring it on home. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? But I can understand how you're saying, like, that was from his viewpoint. That's how I felt. You know what I mean? But
yeah, because like when he was at WWF, I liked them watching it on TV because they wanted to keep it the perspective. You can't immediately switch to Kerry Von Erich's perspective. So he watched it on TV. You know what I mean? Then Kerry came home one day. The next thing you know, Kerry didn't have a foot. You know what I mean? That's just how I go.
That is how I go. That is, yeah.
I don't know if are we talking about story right now? Does this belong on the story? I was about to say, like, the only thing that's weird is
Are we
that,
talking about casting?
Well, it kind of bleeds over, so maybe we could transition.
Okay.
But the only thing that's weird is they left out a fucking brother.
Well, I mean, I this is what I believe, right? So I think storytelling is such, whereas even because there's a couple stories, right? Like I've heard it time and again where there's true stories, but they'll cut it off at a certain point, because even though it is factually true, the human mind is like, nah, my nigga, nah, this is now going into the realm of fairy tale. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand.
I can't give him that, my nigga.
You can't give him that?
So, Marita, I'm talking to you right now. You here? You with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Imagine, if you will, you called it trauma porn. I would argue with you that actual trauma porn would be like the movie I didn't see. What's the movie that the fat comedian girl stakes her claim on because she won an Oscar?
Oh, Precious.
Precious. I would argue that is trauma porn, and it's just made up in somebody's mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never watched it because it's not a true story. Why do I want to watch a story about a girl getting raped by her father and her mother, and just overall just having a terrible life, and then gets killed by her mother or some shit by getting something thrown at her head? I don't want to do it, right? I heard the story beats that this sounds like a horrible movie, and it's not true. You want to know what else I didn't watch? I didn't watch the fucking Human Centipede, all right? These are not things I want to see, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if it was a true story, maybe if the Human Centipede was for real, I'd be like, how the fuck did somebody do this? But just coming up with it, I have no interest in it. To me, the Human Centipede and Precious are the same movie, all right?
Mm-hmm.
This movie is true events. What if I told you, Marita? What if I told you that there was a whole nother brother and they left him out of the movie for the sheer fact that they thought it would be overly traumatic? They thought the audience couldn't handle one more brother's death. And what if I told you it was their youngest brother who might have the most tragic story out of all of them? Because he had asthma as a kid, and the medicine they took back then made his bones brittle. It stunted his growth. And so he was only 5'6", and every time he got in the ring, he broke a bone or some shit. And then he thought he loved wrestling more than all the rest of his brothers and wanted nothing more to be a wrestler. And his father like tried to get him in there, but every time he got in there, a shoulder would break, a wrist would break. So finally he realized like he just was never going to be as good as his brothers. Nobody was ever going to accept him as a wrestler, right? And then when the one who got the toxic shock and killed himself, the first one that killed himself in the movie, he left a bag of drugs and a note to his little brother. And he said, hey, when you're ready to end it all, here's a bag for you.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then once he realizes he has no chance in the wrestling world, he motherfucking kills himself because he believes no one will ever love him like he loved his brothers, and he'll never be able to live up to their stature, figuratively and literally, right? He's the first one to shoot himself in the head, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he blew his brains out all over the everything. And that death is actually, they left it out of the movie. That's what led Carey to do what he did. Because he was just like, I want to go be with my brothers. This shit is too hard. My brothers did this. I'm going to be with them. So that death is the one that really affected Carey. Not just the fact that he couldn't wrestle as good anymore. Not just the fact that he was on drugs. Now, what if?
And he was going to go to jail.
And he figured he was going to jail. Oh, and that's the other thing. We can talk about that. Well, it's all in it. The other thing is they act like only one of these niggas ever had sex. Fucking had kids and shit. All of them had kids and was married and shit. They left all that out the movie, but whatever.
They most certainly did.
Yeah, and because the reason why they did is because it made it seem like that was the thing that kept Kevin from killing himself, was that he actually had people to love and a way out. You know what I'm saying? Outside of wrestling.
Yeah.
Which I could get with that as a theme of the movie. However, what if I was to tell you, right, that the reason why he killed himself is because he thought he would never be as remembered, adored. He just thought nobody cared about him. And then when there's a movie made about his exact family, the director decides he's not important enough to be in the movie.
Right.
You are fucking right. Now imagine that's your legacy, man. A movie about the tragedy of a family, and they leave out your fucking existence. He didn't even, my nigga. Did they have to really? If you was gonna leave somebody out, you couldn't leave out the oldest child.
That's what I was about to say. I knew about Lil Jack. Lil Jack died when he was 5 years old. They told us that. At this point, you have showed us tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. Like,
what is one more?
What's one more is a bridge too far, man.
That's the claim
you
they
have
make.
kept us in the movie theater for 2.5 hours watching death after death after death.
It was 2 hours, and they could have used 30 more minutes.
Whole film
that little doc at the end was too. It was only gonna hold so many people, my nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, which is even now more upset because you put a freaking heaven scene in the movie.
Yes. For a child that died, somebody that died from intestinal issues, and 2 suicides. Like they're all linked up. All of them gonna link up.
Right, and we're gonna bring Lil Jack back. Lil Jack is still gonna be his 5-year-old self.
Oh my God.
But we're gonna leave out a whole brother. Now, see, this is what I'm talking about, Sean. This is what I'm talking about. Because
perhaps
you
they should have watched. Yeah.
The movie was 2 hours.
Yeah.
It
A
should have been
tight
2.5.
12.
It
Yeah.
should have been 2.5. They could have used another 30 minutes. And I'll go one further for you, right? So like I said, a lot of the movie couldn't even get the real true life story because, like I said, wrestling mixes a lot of facts and fiction. So when you get people's real life accounts of what happened, they're still working.
Yeah.
So there were two different versions of the story of how the first one died. The first one that we see in the movie, David, died. Some say that he was sick before, he was throwing up, and he died of opinion. My stomach feels like it could burst. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the real story that goes around that Ric Flair said in his book that while he was they found him dead, the wrestlers found him first, and they removed all his drugs out of there.
Yes. I was
And
gonna
then
say it was drugs.
Yeah.
It's always drugs. You know
It
what
was
I'm saying?
all of them. All of them were on drugs heavily and whatever, but they were considered the all-American boys, and just keep selling it. The image, they were trying to fake that they were nice, or they were all good, or they had no vices, and they were just good guys who drunk milk. But all of them were heavy drug users and heavy drinkers and all that kind of shit. And they had a lot of relations with women.
You don't say. You don't say.
Yeah. And so the movie is kind of crazy because the movie kind of carries on the tradition of lying about these niggas, how they were in real life and shit.
Hey,
And who
man,
knows if the
Kayfabe
drugs
can't
had a
die,
lot to
brother.
do with their mindset and shit, you know?
Kayfabe can't die by suicide, sir. That's all I'm gonna let you know.
Who indeed. In
Oh,
wrestling, Marita, just to throw this in wrestling, if a villain dies in real life, the hero on TV will say good riddance. Because back then they thought the shit was real. It's like, this is the same nigga that punched your mother in the face, stabbed your eye out for 3 weeks and shit. You couldn't see it. They beat you in the face with a chain and shit. Fuck him. I hope he deserved to die. I hope he burns in hell is how they felt about it.
exactly. Marita was shocked after the movie to find out that this nigga Kerry Von Erich was swole out of control because we saw Jeremy Allen White's portrayal, and that nigga looked all of 186 pounds.
Kudos knowing that nigga's name, because I've been calling him Lip or
Lip boy.
Yeah, or nigga from The Bear.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's my show.
That's
so
the show.
I appreciated seeing him.
However,
in the movie. However, based on what you said, Akir, seemed like he should have played the brother who didn't get included in the movie.
Yes.
He seems like he would have been a better casting fit for that role, considering the fact that you said 5'6", like brittle.
Can I be perfectly honest with you? Him, I don't know if you know this, but him and Kevin Von Erich was the same goddamn size. Them niggas are both short as shit.
All right.
But can I just say that it feels like they chose the actors that they thought were the best actors, and they didn't really like focus on how well it was
A24. So they did what A24 does, man. Get some folks that can act, and we'll let the cutting room floor sort out the rest, man. So I respect it from that point of view. I do respect it from that point of view.
And when we first saw this, I said they should get the nigga from The Bear to play the main character, because I thought he was the better actor, but I ain't gonna lie, Zac Efron acted the shit out of that shit, bro.
He did.
I was pleasantly surprised by Zac's performance because, at least for me, my exposure to him has all been, like teeny bopper films, like low stakes, nothing that really showed any range, which is fine because I mean, you know, if you're attractive, if you're handsome, if you can get all of the teenage girls in an uproar, you know, you'll get cast and stuff. So I was pleasantly surprised by what I felt like was good range, and you know, believable. Like there was no part of his performance that I felt like was contrived or I don't know, just inauthentic. So I think he did a great job.
Yeah, good. I agree. I think they all did a good job, honestly. I
Yeah.
honestly will say, to Sean's point, I do wish the other brothers had. I wish people had more. It seemed like they filmed more and they cut. You could probably speak to this more, Marita. It seemed like they filmed a lot and cut a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like someone really whittled this down because they thought people don't want to be in the theater that long. But I wanted to see more, honestly. I wish there was more. I'm interested to see a director's cut.
Yeah, yeah. And I think for me, just watching the film, I will say it felt like the energy of the film declined the longer that it went on. And so I actually left feeling like the film should have been shorter. Just given the fact that I felt, even though there was emotion there, like clearly, at least for me, death is always going to bring about some emotion for me as an audience member. But because it was very back to back to back, like there wasn't I guess a solid through line. It's like I get this, I understand that we're following a family story, but I still felt very much like what you said, that it was like, okay, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, without it being a little bit more seamless and a little bit more connected. And I think because to me, it focused a lot on Kevin's life, like the backstory, the background. And then it's like in the middle, then it's like, oh, we kind of get introduced to the other brothers and what they had going on. And then it's death, 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 death. And then it's, okay, I'm on this ranch with my family, and that's the end of the movie. So they probably did cut out a lot, but I also feel like there could have been more room on the editing floor to include more of everybody else's, I guess, background story. I'm curious to see what the script was. That's more what I'm curious to see, because you know the director can only do so much unless the director and the writer are the same person, which
They
I'm
are
not.
the same person. It was written and directed by the same.
Okay,
Same
well, there's that.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Let me rattle off a couple names. And I know that Marita is going to have strong opinions about one of them. But Akir, I want to read you some names, and I want you to kind of tell me where these people served well in this movie. And this kind of speaks more to the wrestling side.
Marita, feel free to chime in. You know?
Yeah.
Of course, as the expert.
First, I'm gonna say the possibly, arguably, the greatest 3-man duo, all right, in the history of the squared circle. I'm talking about those fabulous Freebirds from Bad Street, Georgia, USA.
Those goddamn free birds. They come in here strutting their stuff, smoking their marijuana.
Taking their marijuana pills.
Yeah, with their long hair. They're dressed like women. I think they're a bunch of sissies, really. Yeah, I think they did them well. They chose those particular 3. It wasn't always those 3, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was accurate for the time that they were doing it. They had Bam Bam Gordy in there. Was that Bam Bam Gordy or Terry?
That was Terry Gordy. Well, Bam Bam Terry Gordy, and they chose Buddy Roberts instead of Terry Garvin. So
And they looked pretty similar to what they were, and they couldn't make them too much bigger than the actors. So I would say they chose these wrestlers to scale. So since they had small ass actors, they chose other wrestlers to complement them. Yeah, movie logic. You never make your people, unless you're trying to sell Rocky versus Drago, you make everybody relatively the same height. Mm-hmm. That being said, they did go out of their way to make Bam Bam Gordy look like a fucking the Hulk compared to the other niggas in the ring. So that was fairly accurate into scale because that nigga's big as shit. So if you looked at him, it looked like they were wrestling like a fucking mongrel or some shit.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought they did pretty well for the few seconds, just to show you. That's what surprised me, how little wrestling was in this motherfucking movie. Goddamn it.
Yes.
They put it lightly, the lightest of wrestling.
They sprinkled it. You know what I mean? Just a whisper of wrestling in there. Let me ask you. Up to this point, you and I, there was a lot of speculation talk over. Nigga dig this. I'm about to sun kiss like a so. Don't worry about it. All right.
To the moi.
Put his lips on it. Nah, really kiss the gang. All right, don't get me started, brother. All right. Don't start with me, brother. All right. Don't start with me. Up until last night, the former AEW All Elite Wrestling World Champion Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Who did he play in this movie, sir?
Funny, the only wrestler to ever cross over and be referenced on The View. Yes. The only wrestler to be on TV screens all throughout different stations that have nothing to do with wrestling. He's going to be a movie star. These niggas used 10 seconds of footage of this movie. You want to talk about? That's when I knew they must have cut this movie because that didn't make any sense, man. No sense.
Lance Von Erich. Marita, allow us to regale you with some further history on the Von Erichs that the Von Erich movie won't tell you.
Further history, how terrible the father was, man.
Yeah. Once he started losing all his sons, but he wanted to put some butts in the seats. They created a fake Von Erich. They took a local Texas wrestler and called him one of the cousins of the Von Erichs, and he was Lance Von Erich.
Let us not spare her the tragedy nor the anger, sir. Let's take it back one step. So, the kid who wanted to play music, right? Mike. He didn't want to wrestle. Yeah. Mike. He once David died, he started to force Mike to wrestle, right? And he never wanted to wrestle, and because he wasn't built, wrestling takes a lot out of you. It has to be built up over time. So if you go in the ring and start taking what's known as bumps, which means you get thrown around and shit and landing on yourself, you're liable to fuck yourself up if you don't really know what you're doing, if you don't have years of experience and you kind of haven't built up that into wrestling shape. So in the movie, he lands on his shoulder and he breaks his shoulder, then goes into septic shock and all that kind of stuff. He was forced to do that, right? He didn't want to do it. He was forced to do it, and then he was made to fit pressured into it by his father, even though everybody said the guy shouldn't be in the ring. So then he recovers, and he's never the same. He's, I'm going to just say this, even though I'm against using the word, and I have been since I kid. He was half retarded after that, right? So they didn't show this in the movie. Fritz Von Erich, the father, forces him back into wrestling 8 months later, after his career was clearly over. He forced him back into wrestling. It's not in the movie. He made him wrestle some more. Right? And then he sells it to the public like, I can't stop him. I want to stop him. He shouldn't be coming back. But he has the heart of a Von Erich. It's the exact opposite of what's going on, my nigga. So he forces him back in the ring. And then he, largely from painkillers and just depression, he kills himself, right? So he kills himself. So now they're short of Von Erich. He has the rule of three, like the goddamn Sith. So you didn't know I knew that, did you? Deep cut, nigga. Yeah, real nigga. Yeah. I hate Star Wars.
It's
But
the rule of two, but
oh my
go
bad.
on. Yeah. You know nothing. You know nothing.
And loving it, nigga. If I knew it, I'd hate myself. I'd be Ock Von Erich by the end of the night. But so then Fritz Von Erich throughout his time did a time-honored tradition of bringing in the brother or the cousin. And so when he was wrestling and the father was the man, he had a fake brother that everybody knew was fake, because remember, this is a local promotion, so everybody in the town knows who's really from there, who's related to who. So he had a brother during his time. So what he did was he wrote that brother had a son. None of these people are related. The son isn't related to his nephew, isn't related to Fritz. His nephew isn't related to whatever. He brought him in, and everybody knew it was fake, just to squeeze a little more juice. And he's like, and he instead of just saying, "I'm sorry, I lost my son," he tries to like market this death of his son. Oh, this guy's gonna come back, and he's basically working his son's death. You know what I'm saying? Like the same way that Carrie again. Again.
Crazy.
Yeah. Fucking crazy. And this is the first movie that ever like opened my eyes to what really happened. So I was just shocked as shit.
Yeah.
But the movie somehow, so you get a second. I don't know if you noticed it, Marita, but there was a second of a guy in a blonde, obviously blonde wig. And that was the guy I'm referring to.
Yeah, where Kevin is in the tag match and the guy won't tag him in because he's hot dogging and showboating.
Yeah.
Supposed to be,
Yeah.
That's supposed to be Lance.
Lance, the fake Von Erich, yeah.
Okay. I appreciate the background, because when I was going back to look at the cast, I saw a cast member named Lance Von Erich, and I was like, "Nah, I know I was really watching this movie. Like, did I story here?" I'm like, I don't remember a Lance, but that makes so much sense.
Yes, yeah. That's their. That was their wrestling, their wrestler cast, current wrestler, MJF. Yeah.
It had to be cut, right, Sean? Like you don't make a decision like that unless you're cutting it for time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but once again, MJF is one of the producers of the movie. So, but like you said, and that's why I felt the way that I felt, is that a lot of this stuff was just glossed over in sake of, I guess, let's keep the runtime as slim as possible, and we have to tell this overarching story about Kevin. You know what I mean?
It feels like to somebody said, "Listen, the wrestling fans are going to go see this because the Von Erich's name is on it. We need Marita in this motherfucker." You know what I'm saying?
Right? Because like, who else would you get?
Exactly.
But there's another movie called The Wrestler, starring what's his name?
Mickey Rourke.
Have you ever seen it, Marita?
I have not. Mm-mm.
Incredible movie, and it's about wrestling. Incredible movie. I like this movie, but that movie's 10 times better. So watch that movie, and like that's how you please the wrestling fan and the fucking average fan. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but I think that was fictionalized character, so they didn't have any restraints or constraints of what they had to tell and what they couldn't tell. So maybe that is it. Maybe it's just hard to write a biopic that's both accurate and entertaining.
To me, this movie was a little too respectful. That's how I felt, and when I was saying like about Dr. Dre being a superhero, I didn't mean as far as like Zac Efron's character being a superhero in the movie, as much as I meant like they just showed a little too much reference. You know what I mean? A little too much
reference.
Yeah. Just hey man, if they was a piece of crap, tell me they was a piece of crap, man. You know what I mean?
Tell me what you got. I know we're on the casting, but tell me what you got overall from the story. Because me, it was just and because I know we're on casting, I'll sum it up. I got that
Yeah.
as a nigga who missed his brothers and loved his brothers a lot, and the brothers loved each other. You know what I mean? That's
And
really
Yeah.
I mean, yes. That if you want to sum up the story that was told, that was it. But for me, and like I said, the only thing I go off of is because I know the story. I was looking for the story as I know it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But I, and for Hollywood to do the Hollywood thing, but still I wanted the story as I knew the story, and instead I got the story that what you told, the way you told it.
what I will say is this, right? They alluded to Marita. Did you get the fact that they were all on drugs and drinking? Did that cross your mind that
Like a little bit because there was that one scene where they were like in the locker room, and I couldn't tell if it was steroids or what. But somebody, I couldn't even remember which character. Somebody
Somebody
was
was shooting
up
up,
like
and
their
yeah,
side, so I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if that was prescribed or something else. And then obviously, David throwing up in the bathroom at the wedding. Um,
yeah.
and I mean, they would occasionally drink whenever they would go out, but it was not, to me, it didn't seem like it was the prominent backstory, I guess you could say.
Okay, and I will say that's probably a sign of someone who is hiding their brother's shame.
yeah,
So
Mm-hmm.
they were known drunks. They were known drug addicts. Like this was known about. That is the reason why, uh, they didn't put the belt on Carrie Von Erich in the first place. The Bears character, because they were like, he's unreliable. So, that didn't really play up in the story. So I would say that part is him hiding his brother's shame. But you could tell this nigga wanted the truth about his father to come out. Because
Oh,
yes,
for sure.
yes,
For
yes. That
sure.
held no punches. Held no punches on that.
I heard it could have
Uh,
been worse, honestly. I heard it could have been worse. So
I'm sure. I'm sure. There was another story about his father pulling a gun on him after
yeah,
all the other brothers had died and saying, "You need to go be with your brothers."
yeah.
What?
Yes.
He told him, the age of every biopic has to have someone telling you it should have been you when your brother died.
Not this one though. Not this one. They ain't want to include
Funny
it in this.
enough, according to wrestling lore, that's what he said to him. It should have
Yeah,
been you. It should have been you, Kevin. You never had the makings of a heavyweight title championship.
exactly. Exactly. Let me ask you about this.
Yes, sir.
Four-time NWA heavyweight champion, Harley Race.
Perfect. Perfect casting, nigga.
Pitch,
I thought it was
pitch
Harley.
perfect. Pitch
Nigga, I thought that
perfect.
nigga was Harley Race for a second. I said, what the fuck? I had to look if Harley Race died or not, nigga. I was like, what the fuck going on?
Yes, yes,
And got
yes. That,
and this is what I'm saying. Like, that's why I think a lot of this shit was just cut. Because that shit was so, not the casting in general, but just how they filmed that match, how they got across who Harley Race was. And then this is when I leaned over to the young lady and I said, in wrestling, because like, okay, real quick, Marita, he threw him out the ring, right? You might, and then he suplexed him onto the ground. This looks like
yes,
standard
Mhm.
wrestling stuff in this day and age. But what you don't really realize is that when you take that suplex on the bare concrete, that means something because you can't fake it. It really hurts, right?
Mhm.
And it's a certain way that you protect the guy, and there's a certain timing to the suplex where they can brace themselves. And they subtly get it over that he did something outside of what the script called for. And so if you'll notice, when Fritz, the father, talks, he kind of talks in such a way that he thinks it's real. Because a lot of times the wrestlers would go in what's called business for themselves, which means they do things
Mhm.
to get themselves over or to make their character look better. It's kind of like if you're doing acting on a stage and one guy's like really like overacting, trying to get all the attention to himself, and the scene's not really supposed to
Yeah.
be or whatever. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So what they're doing stuff that they're not supposed to do, and because it's like a choreographed dance, it's not really choreographed. they're making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
And the moves that they do are practiced before. Like they done a suplex a million times, but they didn't know he was going to do the suplex. So what he did was he threw him over the top rope, which was back then was a big thing because people didn't go over the top rope a lot. And then he suplexed him on the concrete, and it really hurt him. So when they did the 10 count, he was supposed to get up. He took too long, and it made him look weak in the eyes of the people, in the eyes of the viewer. So then the people who decide who's going to become champion or not, like, well, we're not putting it on him because, well, if he gets suplexed, like, what if someone, back then you had people who could really fight, they were called shooters, right? And they would want to put the belt on someone who was a shooter because if you went to a town and that person decided to go into business for himself, you need to be able to actually win a fight and get out of there and not make the belt look bad and not make the championship not look bad, not make the wrestling business look bad. So if you pull up on random nigga in North Carolina to do a show and that nigga decides I'm going to not cooperate, you got to be able to punch him in his goozle, as they say, man. You got to goozle that nigga. You got to take an eye out his head. You got to do whatever you got to do. So
to retain your title,
yeah. So when he took too long to get in the ring, and then like he let Harley Race, the older guy, he let him have too much. Meaning he let Harley Race beat him a little too badly, and he didn't like look strong in the match. And you'll be like, well, it's fake, so who cares? But that's how it worked back then, because back then not everybody was clued in that it was fake. So if you look weak, it could hurt ticket sales. It could hurt like business. You know what I'm saying? Because people want their heroes to be tough or whatever. So when he got back in the back, his father was like, "Yeah, you done fucked up, my nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you looked weak in the match. You didn't fight him like you were supposed to fight him, and all that kind of shit."
Well,
but to bridge the gap, that's how Harley Race really was. He was known as a real tough,
he was
fighting, a shooter. So that came across in the movie, in my opinion, very well. I had to explain the connected dots, but I think even if you didn't know all that, you kind of get the impression of what was going on. You might have not realized he wasn't faking when he was laid out on the ground, but you kind of got that impression that the dude didn't do well in the match. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that to me shows probably what each of those scenes look like, because that's what they were capable of. They were capable of getting the point across to the layman, and they was capable of making the wrestling fans happy. They probably just decided to cut it.
Probably.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Now we bring up the moment that both of y'all have been waiting for. The inciting incidents that bridge the gap between the wrestling head and the layman.
Yeah.
Did I hear somebody mention the 16-time world heavyweight champion? The limousine ride, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheel dealing son of a gun. And he having a hard time holding them alligators down. I'm talking about none other than the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Horrible.
I almost walked out the theater. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I ruined the young lady's experience because she didn't know the difference. She never heard the word Rick nor Flair, nigga. But I was like, this shit is trash. I can't believe. What is this shit? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was the worst. And listen, I'll give you a little background on me. I actually, when I was around probably like between 7 to 10, like wrestling was on in my house, and I may not have been the biggest fan, but like I knew the people's names and I knew what they looked like and I knew a little bit about the storyline, and I seen that Ric Flair and I said, absolutely not. It was the worst performance of the entire movie. I think I leaned over to Sean and I was like, so of all the takes they did, these was the best takes out of this man? That lets me know it was trash. Like, I don't know how he got casted. I don't know what that audition looked like. Now I'm speaking from an actor's perspective. I don't know what self-tape he submitted for them to think that he would be a great Ric Flair. But when I say that thing was so overly acted, so contrived, so it was the worst. It was the worst. I could not take it. I could not take it. There was no believability. None.
I almost called Sean in the middle of the movie. Because I was talking to the young lady. I was like, this is trash. She didn't understand what I was talking about. And I was like, somebody got to film me right now, my nigga. You know what I mean? I texted the nigga. But then I realized I was spoiling for him. So I just didn't say nothing. But that shit was horrible. Yeah, have you ever seen Eastbound and Down?
Mm-mm.
It's a character on HBO. It's a movie. It's a comedy on HBO. It's a
Okay.
character that what's the nigga from Talladega Nights name?
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Yes. He plays a character on this TV show, Eastbound and Down, that's supposed to be Ric Flair. But if Ric Flair was like a fucking car salesman, right? And it's clearly based on Ric Flair, but it's just Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell and shit.
Right.
And when he says the woo part, he goes, woo, woo, woo. That's what he does. That's what I felt like I was seeing on this TV screen. Like a comedian doing a terrible Ric Flair impression on purpose or something.
That's so accurate.
Yeah.
That's so accurate. You know what it felt like to me? It felt like when you chilling with your homies and like y'all just joking around and like y'all are all wrestling fans and you're trying to give your best impression of your favorite wrestler. Like it felt like I was watching a 7-year-old's impression of Ric Flair. Like it was like it was bad. I don't even know how else to say it. It was horrible.
It was bad. You said it. It was bad. It was bad. Like it I feel like in this day and age, because Ric Flair has gone on to become such like a pop culture icon.
Yeah.
Anybody who saw that would immediately say, you didn't have to grow up watching wrestling. You would immediately say that's bad. And the main reason is because when you watch the promo he did, you can find it on YouTube. Ric Flair did that promo.
That's what I'm saying. Like there were so many references. Like you didn't have to like wing it. Like you could literally go and pull up YouTube clips of Ric Flair. Like you could spend hours working on your character. You get what I'm saying? Like I just can't believe that was the best that you could do. Like I just refuse to believe that was, after all you've done to book this role, that was the best. After all of the takes that you had to do, different camera angles, like that was the best 2 minutes that they got from that man.
I have to believe that it is, or else they'd use something else, my nigga. Like, think about it. That's what they had.
I just don't know who to blame more. Like, I don't know if I should blame the casting associates. I don't know if I should blame the director. The actor obviously is to blame, but like
it didn't even make sense in the world that they built. Like he was too tall. He was taller than the nigga. It was just horrible, my nigga. His hair looked fake as shit.
I hear everything y'all saying. Can I give my opinion on it?
Please.
He started off, much like Ox said, it started off as a promo that Ric Flair has already done, right? So it was very off-putting because I know these words by heart and I know everything he's saying and how it's supposed to sound, and the fact that it did not sound. You said what now?
Oh, my bad. I'm just saying I know about heart. You fucking geek, you.
Listen, man. If you don't know if you can't spouse off some Ric Flair promos verbatim, my nigga, what are you? Do you even like the sport, my nigga? You even ugly fan for real, my nigga. You know
Public,
what I'm
no,
saying?
I'm not.
What's your impression game like, my nigga? It sucks, obviously. I'm not gonna lie to you though. By the end of that promo, right? Then he went off of the regular promo, and then he went into some. They went into some movie stuff, and I ain't gonna lie, he kind of got me by the end. My nigga. He kind of reeled me in. You know what I'm saying? He says, this is the most grueling of all professional sports. I've been stabbed. I've been shot at. I was like, hold on now. This man, a little scene then broke out. A little acting scene that broke out. You know what I mean? And then all that goodwill that he built up in those couple seconds when he got in the ring and he looked like a piece of crap, it went right back downhill. But for a second, there was a glimmer of hope. There was a glimmer of hope for a couple seconds. So I'm not gonna throw out the baby with the bathwater. Yeah, you know, I leave that to Mama Von Erich. But you know, for a minute he had me, man. For a minute he had me. It wasn't as egregious as I thought it was for a couple moments.
I was never had. Not from horrible wig, not from the bad articulation, not nary a moment was I had by that impression. Because it wasn't acting. It was not acting.
It wasn't impressive. Like I'm saying, he did the Lizard Shoes promo. I know that promo. He didn't do it well. But then he went into he pulled you in, man. He reeled you in a little close. And you know what I'm saying? I said, brother, you're doing just fine. You're doing just fine. If you keep this up, you'll be all right. He didn't keep
Let me
it up.
stop you. Let me stop you. Shut that shit up. You're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Man. This nigga, you know what he is? You know what he is? He's an AEW fan. I know you don't know what this is.
Wow.
Just imagine a terrible, geeky, trash version of whatever you watched as a child. That's what he watches right now. And that's the reason he allowed himself to accept this Ric Flair. Because he accepts terrible facsimiles of what we knew and loved, my
sir. You
Yeah.
do me no justice.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that man started
he is
acting
an apologist. I will say this. I will say this. I will say this. At the end, the ending wasn't as bad as the beginning, but the beginning was so unforgivable because Ric Flair is a master of. He believes what he's saying, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it doesn't matter how ridiculous he's saying it. And part of the reason why he believes what he's saying is because he really is in them limousines. He really is on the Learjet. He really is willing and dealing and kiss stealing. He's doing all that shit. So the reason why he talks the way he does is because his motherfucking alligators was biting. My nigga, like them shits was real alligator skin. You know what I'm saying? And he had the nicest watch on. All of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He really was the champion. He really was in shape. He really was doing tour nights and flying here and flying. Like, so all the shit he was talking was real. Everything he was saying, you could see it. The fans could see it. And that's why he is top 3 most iconic wrestlers of all time, including Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. So
yeah,
the actor clearly was just acting. And this is why, to quote a man by the name of Jim Cornette, wrestlers aren't actors. Marita is an actor, right? She is a thespian. She's an actress, right?
Yeah.
These wrestlers aren't actors. What they are is they're up there augmenting their personality that they already have to get across passion so that people will believe that the fight is real. All they're doing is selling the fact that they are in a fight or in a competition or in real life care about what's happening. And they're just selling, they're just talking you to watch the match. That's all their job is. So Ric Flair's only job is to believe it so hard that you believe it.
Yeah.
And this actor just clearly didn't believe anything he was saying. He was just regurgitating, my nigga. He was just regurgitating.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And I didn't get it. And Ric Flair's highs and lows. He knows how to like bring it all the way up, bring it all the way down, take it in the middle while saying something that is very much impactful. This guy doesn't know how to do it. He just doesn't know how to do
Yeah.
it.
And
This
that's
is
crazy to me because as an actor, when you get a monologue, right, you only have that short amount of time to be compelling. So you have to find the highs and the lows. You have to make nuanced choices. You can't just like say it all at level 10 or whatever it is, or keep one emotion. Like you have to be able to like navigate through, which is why I'm just like how did you fumble that? Like I don't understand, but I think it's exactly what you
It's the
said.
best role of the movie, right? The
it
best
is.
role of the movie. How did
Yeah.
you fuck that up?
If
Yeah,
you're gonna
like
get one thing right, it shouldn't be Harley Race. If you're gonna get one thing right, it should be Ric Flair. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Yeah. No,
like
you
I gotta
definitely right.
agree. I gotta agree with that. And for as little wrestling as they did show us, right? Like, and you are presenting to us wrestlers or characters that people who are fans of that genre are very familiar with, right? Like, so I just feel like you could have done a better job with the small moments of wrestling that were shown throughout the movie to like make it as believable or as punching as it should be for the audience to like really be engaged. Because if we're telling the truth, like those were the moments I feel like of like the most energy in terms of the overall story. Because this story was about mental health, a horrible father, a complicit mother, like it was about tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. So I just feel like those were the most like energetic scenes, could have been the most energetic scenes in the film. And so I don't know, just to
Do
just
do
to
you think,
appease the wrestling fan at least, like
in your opinion, do you think Marita and Sean, I guess, I don't know how familiar you are with Rocky, but do you think like they should have followed more of a Rocky format where the wrestling was like not maybe the pinnacle scene, but each wrestling scene should have been like more so choreographed
So
like that.
this is what I'll say. I'll say that with the subject matter being death,
Yeah.
suicide, you know, fucking horrible parenting, kind of to what Marita was saying. Those in between moments are the times that's supposed to, you know, add some whoo, you know what I'm saying? Some, a little bit of give you a breath of
relief.
fresh air. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, like, yes, the wrestling should have been that. Obviously, the little portrayals of people that should have been that. This is the time I get to breathe. This is the time I get to, okay, I come up for air for a second. And yeah, it should have. People were talking about the wrestling in this movie, and I've heard people talk about the wrestling in this movie. To me, yeah, it wasn't really enough of it, but maybe that's obviously, like y'all was saying, that's not the story they were trying to tell.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't the focus of what they're trying to tell. But like you said, it could have served as a reprieve from all the death and
Yeah.
all the sadness. And yeah, I think she put it beautifully. Those were the most energetic moments. And when we did get it, I was very satisfied with it. So again, I just think they cut it. Like,
Yeah.
and so like there was a part where where Ric Flair comes back and say, "God damn, Kevin, I thought you was a bit of a sissy, honestly. If we're being real with you. I thought you was a fucking sissy. But you wrestled out there." Because the more real you can make it look, and Kevin went off script too and held the move too long. And the realer you can make it look, the more props you get. You go off script and you do something that moves the crowd and does something crazy, the
Mm-hmm.
more props. You know what I'm saying? So, back then. So anyway, like that kind of stuff could have been played up a little more, but they chose to go murder, suicide.
I
you
mean,
you're getting your
that's
murder
what
in my
the
suicide.
film was like. with everyone, I'm just being taken further down, like until the end, and it's like, okay, I guess that's all I'm left with. I don't know. I understand that that's the story, but I just feel like there was more. There could have been more opportunities for, I don't know, nuance. I also feel like I get that it's a biopic of sorts. So I understand the pull to be linear in your storytelling. Like I do get that. I understand that. But I still think, I don't know, something else could have been added, because by the end I was just like, well, this was a Debbie Downer. Like, and that was not my expectation going in. It was not. I actually thought I was going to see more wrestling, to be quite honest. But
Could have used a bit more.
But I didn't know the story either. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know the backstory. So, this is coming from the expert layman,
Right. So overall, on a scale from dope to trash, where are we rating this film?
I would say this. Like I said, there's parts I can nitpick. Wasn't the greatest paced movie, but the young lady who I was with, she said it was a sad movie, but it ended with some closure. And she felt like at the end she was satisfied with what she saw. And that's kind of how I felt too. You don't satisfy is too big of a word. What word would you use?
I don't know. It just wrapped up.
It wrapped up.
The best of a bad situation.
The best of a best. He made the best of a bad situation. And that's kind of and I felt like the point of the movie got across. Even though it didn't hit all the points I would have wanted it to hit, their point seemed to get across. This is a man who loved his brothers, and their brothers lived the highest heights and the lowest lows. They lived, they died, they wrestled.
And that voice.
Goes to the left of me. Goes to the right of me. So it is how I give it a B. I'm glad I watched it, and I would recommend it. I did recommend it to people. I would recommend it. It's a watch. It's a good watch. You know what I mean? What would you give it? She doesn't want to be on. She doesn't want to be recorded. She got warrants and shit.
Shut up.
You give it a B? Would you recommend it? B-. Would you recommend it?
Sure.
To your friends, not to people who like wrestling, like just to.
I wouldn't vote against it, but I wouldn't write it a raving review. If somebody said I'm going to watch that, I'm going to be like, you do that. But if I be like, that's the one,
So they said, have you seen any good movies lately? Which one should I go see? I don't know any of these movies. You wouldn't say this one?
I'd say I saw it. What did you think? I'd give it a B-.
Okay. I'll accept that answer.
I mean, it's
No, I've already accepted this.
Oh, okay.
Dismissed. No.
Marita,
she's still here.
What would you say?
So I would say, in terms of performances, excluding Ric Flair, it was a decently performed film. I was not upset per se with any of the performances, and I'll give it some credit in terms of emotional pull. Obviously the deaths of all of the brothers, but even the anger that I felt towards the father, the anger that I felt towards the mom, the compassion I felt towards Kevin and his wife. So I can say I appreciate that. In terms of like the energy of the film, I really feel like there could have been more. And unfortunately, like I understand why people started scrolling mid-film and did not stop scrolling. I don't feel like what was told was enough to keep people's attention. Like I, even as an audience member, was starting to feel like the film was too long, and if they could potentially wrap it up, just because there was nothing that was fully like keeping my attention other than the fact that this is a movie and I'm here to watch it. I,
Damn.
in terms of how I would rate it, I am leaning. I'm leaning heavy on the C minus. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm leaning heavy on the C minus. I appreciate seeing a more realistic approach to Devon Eric's story, and you know, at least learning to some extent, because according to y'all, they didn't even include one of the brothers, but learning to some extent who they were and what they contributed, you know, to the field of wrestling. And so I have to, you know, I feel like I have to give it credit for that, but I'm leaning really heavy on C minus. I even considered possibly a D, because it's just not, to me, it's just not engaging. It's not a, it's a story that I now know, but I wish it could have been told a little bit differently. And I would not recommend it to my friends. Yeah, I didn't like it. Just got have to be honest. I didn't like it. It wasn't all bad, but it wasn't the most enjoyable or even impactful film that I saw in 2023. So
Damn. I had a couple of questions, but I forgot it because the more you went into it, it was your review of the film is sadder than the film material. So it just kept hitting me every time. Every time she started, it was like, damn. But that, you know what? That is exactly why I'm glad you watched it. Because sometimes I wonder, do I give these films a pass because they're about a subject matter that I spent a great many years pondering?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
good to have someone who's coming strictly from just a review of it as a film rather than it as a wrestling film.
Yeah.
So, that's good to hear. It's good to hear that take. Sean, what say you?
I'm gonna say, look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think, like I said, I've known this story since I was 14 years old. And it was acted well enough. Obviously, with the exception of Ric Flair, true. It was put together well enough. But to me, and I listen, I'll speak to the power of just the telling of the story. Friend of the show, Mercer Morrison, um, refused to see the movie because of his knowledge of the events that happened. He didn't want to see it play out. Um, but I told him once I got out of there, I said it was kind of light on the emotional beats. Man, you might be all right. You could have been worse. Could have been worse. So I would say, look, they did the job that they set out to do. I don't think it lacked in telling the story that they were attempting to tell. Um, but for me, for my taste, for my sensibilities, no, I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend listening to former wrestlers tell the story. You know what I'm saying?
That was the question I lost, but I was gonna say, Marita, does it interest you enough to go watch a documentary about it?
I think I would rather watch a documentary than what I saw in this film, if I'm honest.
Hmm. And you
Because
were saying, Sean, go watch. Go ahead.
I
Oh,
was
my
just, if I can just add to that, I think it's because I do enjoy history. Like, that's what I went to school for. Like, I like knowing the backstory of things. I like knowing the truth, even if it is a sad truth. And so, I don't know. I just feel in that way documentaries sometimes have a little bit more of my interest than, biopics, because of the creative liberties that films typically take with people's stories. So yeah, I don't know if I would immediately go and watch a documentary, because I know the outcome. But had I not known it, right? Had I just been, watching off a GP, I probably would have preferred a documentary as opposed to the film. But
Understandable.
Sean, you were saying you would tell others to go watch a podcast.
I would tell if somebody really needed to know if it was burn the hole in their self-inflicted wound, then I would say go watch a documentary.
Would you say now? You said podcast at first, right? Or wrestler shoot interviews.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the shoot interviews would give you more details or realer version of the story than the documentary?
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Would you believe that a podcast or wrestling shoot interviews would give you a realer version of the story than a documentary that you've seen?
I feel like the reverence that wrestlers have for this story and this family and the way everything played out, and wrestlers' ability to act as if they were in the room when this shit happened. These liars, the whole lot of them, carnies. I just feel like that they give you the, you know what I'm saying, the look on Kerry Von Erich's face when he left the world, man. Like they'll give you that, and this movie didn't give me that. You feel me? So I would definitely
Because just a bit of interject, a bit of realness. They couldn't give you that because Kevin really actually wasn't there, and he didn't find his brother, the father, for them. And the father was, you could say he was a worker, but he was a known liar, is what he was. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So even when people knew the truth, he still just refused to admit it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So even they say when Kerry, got into the accident and all that kind of shit, where he was drunk, of course, driving, and it was like, yo, just everybody knows he was drunk driving. Everybody knows whatever. Like, why don't we just say he's battling back from his demons and all that kind of stuff, and make him a sympathetic babyface? And he just refused because he had an idea of what he wanted his family's legacy to be, and he was just willing to lie about it, no matter how much the truth. To the point now that nobody really knows. So everybody has an idea, but nobody really even knows the truth because a lot of the people who were there to tell you this or that are dead. Yeah. And I guess that is just the magic of wrestling. It's like a real life play that you never really, was this real? Which part was real? Which part was fake? I guess it just mirrors what wrestling is in general.
Exactly. So yeah, it was I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? Was it fine? It was fine. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna run through the streets and tell people that this is the picture of the year contender.
Funny, and it's crazy because I haven't seen, but that's the thing, I haven't seen too many movies. So I watched Oppenheimer. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah. When I left this one, I was more satisfied than I was with Oppenheimer. So, like, to me, the first hour of Oppenheimer was fucking edge of your seat. What will happen next? And then the last hour and a half, I was like, when will this shit end? You know what I'm saying? So, although, like, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I took a second to say, did I really like this movie? Because, like we were saying, it was scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. And I was like, did I actually like this as a movie? And for a second, I was like, I think I'm disappointed in it as a movie. But then the wrestling fan took over. I was like, yeah, but goddamn it, when he did that claw, that fucking claw was accurate. So all in all, I was satisfied. But I guess, you know, I'm not the kindest movie critic to ever exist, my nigga. But so if I gotta have a soft spot, I guess I'll have it for the old wrestling. You know what I'm saying? We used to have a soft spot for superhero movies, but you know.
Oh yeah, that's it's long since hardened. You feel me?
Dead.
Calloused. Yeah, so you know, well, there you have it. There you have it. That is all the news that's fit to print on the Iron Claw. Ak, Marita, I appreciate both of y'all for being in attendance here today. And in the immortal words of wise ones once spoken, pot crack out.
Pod crack out.
Pie crack, right? Real guys talking that real shit.
New episodes weekly. Rate, comment, and subscribe.